Hi, welcome back to the shed build. As you can see here, the shed got demolished. That was a whole story in itself, which I'll probably do another video on because that turned into a bit of a fiasco. But having demolished it, we had a clear site. So my next job to set about getting done was a floor. So got a concrete pad already, but the problem with it is that it was quite uneven, and I want a flat concrete floor for the shed. So what I decided I was going to do is I was going to pour a new floor at 1 brick's depth. So what I was going to do is a perimeter of brickwork, taking up most of the concrete pad that you see there, and then I was going to tank it by putting in a damp-proof membrane in it, sort of like that you do a pond with, if you see what I mean, and then fill that with concrete and then be able to level it off against the bricks. So long as I set a nice level brick line all the way around with the bricks, I'd get a nice level floor. Now bear in mind that I'd never actually ever laid a brick in my life before this, so watched a few good YouTube videos and set about laying some bricks. First thing I did was put a string line to lay the bricks against. And I'm certainly not going to go into telling people how to lay bricks, because as I say, it's the first time I'd ever done it, and I have to say it went pretty well. I used half reclaimed bricks that they hadn't actually been laid previously, but they'd been stored in someone's yard for a while, and they were getting rid of them, so I got them for free. And they were sort of like a buff colour, and I was going to use those for the front, so it looked quite nice. And then as you can see in the left of the video frame there, I got some additional bricks which someone local to me was selling cheap at 20 pence a brick, which is less than half price. Now I used engineering bricks for this, and I also then will go on to use engineering bricks for the next 2 courses, because I'm going to build a 2-course wall on top of that to then build the shed in timber from. Reason being I used engineering bricks is they don't take in a lot of moisture. They only take in about 7% moisture, and they're really tough bricks, so they don't suffer with frost damage in the winter and things like that. As opposed to a standard house brick in the UK, which can be a bit like a sponge, and you have to take into account the fact that it will take in that amount of water and then has to be able to have the opportunity to then release that moisture back out. In terms of the mortar, I used pre-mixed mortar, and that gave me a consistent mix for the mortar. I didn't want to mix up sand, cement and lime. I just wanted a consistent mortar to make it easier for myself, and I mixed that up as per the instructions, and that went fine. I quite often found that I didn't put actually enough water in the beginning, and you'll find where you need to get it as wet as you need to. If it's too wet, it starts sliding out from between the bricks, so you'll know if you're putting too much water in. The only thing with using reclaimed bricks is you do factor in the time you're going to perhaps have to do to clean the bricks out, because they might have mud or dirt or things like that, and you obviously want a nice clean brick face for cementing. Another thing that I had to deal with putting these bricks down, as I said before, the 2 slabs weren't level. So where you see the join in the middle of the 2 existing slabs, they sloped off slightly from the middle off to the edge. So that meant I had to build up a little bit of a mortar bed underneath towards each end to ensure that the bricks were level all the way around. I did try working to a mortar line, what we're talking about. I did try working to a string line, as a lot of bricklayers say that you should do, and that worked fine for the row that along the back fence there, but I found quite quickly that it was getting me into more problems than I needed, so I just got rid of the string line in the end. I just used a spirit level for the brick line, and then I used a smaller one later on for across the bricks to ensure that they were level. and I just used a rubber mallet to tap them down where I needed to ensure that they were bedded in, and where I needed to level them off a bit more, perhaps I just tapped it with the mallet. I bought a set of trowels off eBay to do the brickwork. It was £10 for 5 and they worked out really well. If anybody wants any details of those, let me know in the, leave me a comment and I'll let you know what they were. I think they were made by Marksman, and I've still got them, and they'll probably last quite a time actually. I was pretty impressed with them, to be honest. So if you're watching this video and you think, oh, I'm not sure if I can do that, I mean, part of the purpose of this channel is to encourage people to have a go and try things for yourself, not only for the satisfaction of doing it yourself, but also to save yourself a bit of money. What I can say to you is you absolutely can do it. So that's the damp proof membrane on top of the brick line there, and then the next thing was the concrete pour. So I would absolutely suggest you use a concrete mixer for this, because you could not, I don't think, pour this amount of concrete by hand and make it consistent, and it would be back-breaking work, I think. The amount of material that you'll see go in here was about 900 kilos of 10mm ballast, so that's sand and 10mm stone. And I think it was, I did quite a hard mix, because obviously I don't want the floor to crack, and it's going to have heavy stuff in there. So I did quite a strong mix of about 1 in 3, and I think that worked out to be about 7 bags, something like that. So we poured slightly drier mix on the bottom, and then for the top surface we did a bit of a wetter mix so we could smooth that off. I ended up having to buy another, was in the UK they're called builder's bags, and they work out to about 850 kilos of material. And we actually ran out here, so I had to dam it with a piece of wood, and then we just continued the same as you see here. There you see the dam coming up there. One thing I would say is when you're sort of smoothing off and tamping your concrete, remember that you're going to have a runoff of cement water, and that's going to make a bit of a mess, so factor that in. But once again, I'd never set concrete before. If I can do it, you can too. So there was a bit of a time lapse of the floor pour. That's now been completed, and now I'll be moving on to the brickwork and timber frame structure. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.